W5FC. Ham Fixin's Net, first and third Monday, 7 p.m., W5FC. This is the W5SC repeater, PL110.9.
I'll be starting Skynet here in about 2 minutes. If you need to use the repeater, please do so now. This is N5BB. Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anybody, let's see. This is N5BB. My name is Bill. I'll be your net control for this session of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club Skynet. This net is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, your comments, and your suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may check in at any time using the post sign break in your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from your net control. That would be me. Stations are reminded to identify at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using a W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. And I am logged into Echolink so I can see the activity over there. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. You can now check into the net electronically, going to the club website, w5fc.org. Look for tonight's announcement and click on the hot link to check in. We'll acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry if you want to check in via voice, we'll do that over the air or Echo Link. All amateur radio operators are welcome. You don't need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. That is 90 minutes long, structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, National Space Society, recent astronomical discoveries, the top discussion topic for the evening by the Net Control Station, Was Up, space exploration and space history, the constellation for the week, space launches for the week, visible satellite passes over the next few days, and any other astronomy questions and answers. All amateurs licensed to transmit here are invited to check in. Now, on the web logins, I recognize KE5ICX, Tom, in Corpus Christi, W5BLT, Bill in Garland, K5MCD, Cody in Dallas, KF5JHA, Chaz with Bob the Cat, in the cat domain of Mesquite, I believe. K5JDW, John in Capel. WB5OZL, Brenda in Dallas. AA5AH, Robert in Richardson. KF5PGM, Travis in McKinney. N5LIG, Dale, who looks like is in Mississippi this evening. Hey, Dale. And we have AB5DM, Dustin in Dallas. Hi, Dustin. I think this is the first time I've talked with you. Okay, that's who we have on the web check-in. You can find it at w5fc.org. Now let's start with short-time check-ins. If you can't stay very long, then please check in now with your name, your call sign, and location. Short-time check-ins for Skynet. This is N5DB. Go ahead. Nothing heard. So let's go for general RF check-ins. We'll do Echo Link later. So general RF check-ins. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is Skynet inside BB Net Control.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
This is November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas.
This is Whiskey Bravo 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas Low Power.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far, far northeast Dallas.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James in North Carrollton.
Okay. I recognize KF5ZBL, Bill, NT5TM, Tony, WB4MFI, Ted, NV5F, Virginia, W5GUS, Gus, and KG5WVL, James. Do we have any other RF check-ins for Skynet? Nothing heard. Now let me look back over at the web check-ins. And we have no additional people. Let me double check here. Nope, that's it for now. So now let's look for Echolink. Let's see. Did I get Brenda? Can I see who? Yeah, Brenda's already here. Kim, BU2GH. I think that's a link, but do you want to check in? Kim Leo? Nothing heard. Does anybody else on Echolink want to check in on voice? If so, please come now. This is N5BB. This is Skynet, looking for Echolink check-ins. Nothing heard. Okay, does anybody want to check in via any mode? Well, there'll be later times you can do this, but do we have any more check-ins for Skynet? If so, please come down. Nothing heard. Do we have any general announcements? This could be anything relating to amateur radio, astronomy, space, or something that'll just be of general interest to licensed hams. If you have any general announcements, please come down with your call sign only.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Recognize NT5TM. Go ahead, Tony.
Priests and cannibals, prehistoric animals. Everybody checks in when the net is called. Oh, wait, what am I talking about? Tonight's Afterglow movie discussion will focus on the William Shatner drama Free Enterprise from 1998, a movie that I saw in theaters when it came out, but forgot until today. The only movie I've ever heard that references the band Shriekback from the 1980s. Yeah, it's really strange, but kind of good in a way. I hope you'll join us here to talk about it at 10:35, plus or minus 5 minutes. You don't actually have to know any Shriekback lyrics or know how to dance the Macarena. Just talk about the movie. Now, perhaps all that was way too confusing. So tomorrow night, we have some simple but still interesting nets. The meeting on the air is at 7 p.m. and the RACES training net is at 8 p.m. Everyone's welcome to share what's going on in their ham world for the meeting on the air, but only RACES stations can check in at 8. Of course, everyone is welcome to listen to the training. But perhaps you are way too excited by my crazy lyrics and you don't want to wait until Sunday evening. Well, that's great. In that case, you should join the White Rock Lake Amateur Radio Club brunch. That's at 11 a.m. tomorrow at VFW Post 6796 on Garland Road. Yeah, next to the Sonic. It's between the Sonic and the Giant Apartment Complex. This is really a VFW event, but they're really glad to have hams attending. They treat us really well. They're proud that we've made their event more popular. It's a really tasty breakfast, and it's cheap. You know, $8. Can't beat that. After you enjoy your breakfast at VFW Post 6796, you could then join the White Rock Lake Amateur Radio Club for a fox hunt that runs until 6 p.m. In fact, the brunch is a great chance to meet up with a fox hunt buddy. If you don't know what you're doing, we're really glad to help you. And hunters can always call for hints on the White Rock Lake simplex frequency 147520. So that's a really great White Rock Lake area Fox hunt, running until 6 p.m. tomorrow, and you can call for hints on 147520. What if that was all too much work for you? Well, that's easy. Sleep on Sunday, then cook something tasty, and then talk about it on Monday night. Because this Monday is a ham fixins night. Yeah, the only night I ever give a safety warning for. Eat before you participate, because talking about food on the radio will make you hungry. So, eat, cook, and then share your recipes, cooking tips, and kitchen stories at 7 p.m. on this Monday night on this repeater. We will really appreciate your company, and we'll all learn from what you have to say. Yeah, especially me, because I think I'm a cook, but I'm not. Last and greatest, the next Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting will be this next Tuesday. The board meets at 6 p.m., and the much more fun general meeting is at 7 p.m. Our presenter will be Stephen Smith, KG5VK, our ARRL section manager. He'll bring a big update from, of course, the ARRL. Also, if you ordered merchandise from Ham Threads at our last meeting in September, your order will be delivered free of shipping charges at the club meeting this Tuesday. Where do we meet? The third floor community room of the Dallas Medical Center. Yeah, the northeast corner of Webb Chapel and LBJ, the former RHD Hospital. There are more details about where to park and so forth at w5fc.org. Anyway, beware of the big black nemesis. Enjoy Shriekback and the Afterglow movie, NT5TM.
Thank you, Tony. Do we have any other announcements? This is N5DB, Skynet. I have one. So, if you go outside during the day and look up, and it's a clear day, what do you see? The sun. What can you do about that? Well, you can generate solar energy from it. The American Solar Energy Society every year has a national solar tour. It's always on the first weekend of October, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So the last day of that is tomorrow, Sunday, October the 5th this year. And my house is on the National Solar Tour. The only other house in the DSW area, the North Texas area, is in Fairview, which is kind of up near McKinney. So if you'd like to see an example of a house with solar power, a backup battery, and other neat things, in my ham shack actually, you can come over to my house tomorrow. The address is 1025 Lane Street in Irving. That's 1025 Lane Street, Irving, Texas, 75061. And the house will be open on the National Solar Tour from 3 to 6 p.m. That's 3 to 6 p.m. You can also do a web search for National Solar Tour. Click on the map, zoom into North Texas, and you'll find my house right there with details. So feel free to come by. If you have any questions, you can send email to my email address that's listed on QRZ. Hint, it's my ARRL email address. So, that's the only announcement I have. So one more try. Any other additional announcements or late check-ins? This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. Okay, I'd like to now recognize Antonio, AG9SG. He checked on the web form. Thank you very much, Antonio. Okay, next, AMSAT, the Radio Amateur Satellite Group, has several nets available. On Echolink, you can go to asterisk, AMSAT, asterisk. And then on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, there is a net under the MSAT groups area. You can also get a live audio link at www.amsatnet.com. In Dallas, on Tuesday nights, except Dallas Club meeting nights, so this net will not be meeting this coming Tuesday, we have the AMSATnet East on this repeater at 8 p.m. Then on Wednesday evening, we have the AMSAT West net. It's Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington 147.14 megahertz repeater with a 110.9 tone and a positive offset. On Monday evenings, there's all kinds of nets coming up, and the first one on the first Monday of the week is Ham Fixings net. And then I won't talk about all the others. Of course, every day we have the ARL National Traffic System Training Net at 6:30 p.m. on this repeater. And then at 9:30 p.m. on the Irving 146.72 megahertz repeater, we have the Late Traffic Net. All are welcome to check into any of these nets. On a traffic net, though, listen, only check in at the proper time, and be ready to handle message traffic. Okay, Tom, would you like to tell us the details about the William Shatner movie this evening? Ooh, on Afterglow, KU5ICX and 5BB.
Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you for doing the nets this evening. I usually do a pretty good riff on these, but it sounds more real than not, believe it or not. Here we go. Shatner sat in the outer waiting room. It had been years since he'd been in an acting gig, and after his Get a Life comment on SNL, his fans weren't exactly waiting for the next big series after Hooker, which, quite frankly, most fans had guessed was about an old cop with a donut obsession, but something far more racy. The reasons the ratings plummeted after the first week. The door opened. The man spoke. "Come in, Bill. I'm glad you're here. I'm a big fan. The biggest." Shatner responded with a handshake and a comment. "Yeah, well, I'm here for a new challenge. What do you have?" Wait, that's great. Let me write that down." The director did exactly that. "Anyways, I'm looking to make you a central character in my new movie, a starring role. What would it be? What's the character like?" "Wait," said the director. "Let me write that down, too." Shatner suspected something was up, but instead asked the question, "Do you have something I can read?" The director replied, "Yeah, here." He handed Shatner a piece of paper he'd been scrawling out. "Read this," he said, out loud. Shatner started. "Yeah, I'm here for a new challenge. What do you have?" "Isn't this what I just said?" Yeah, but read it like the Shat. You know, like every word is its own sentence." Shatner spoke again. "I'm here for a new challenge. What do you have?" "That's great. You're hired. You do Shatner better than Shatner." Shatner replied, "But I am Shatner." "I know. Isn't that great?" Join us for a story about meeting William Shatner while making a movie about William Shatner. That's not a documentary, but a drama about, you guessed it, William Shatner. Confused? So was William Shatner. Join us for Free Enterprise from 1998 tonight at 10:30 p.m. Really, the movie is pretty much what I just said. Oh, and there's a love story in it as well. Tonight at 10:30. If you get a chance to see, even if you don't come and see the film, I think to talk about the film, at least watch it. It's free on plex.tv. I think you'll find it rather entertaining. Back to you, Bill, KE5, ICX.
Thanks, Tom. Chaz, KS5JHA, can you tell us about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas This is N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everyone. This is KF5JHA. I'm distracted a little bit because the Ohio State University #1 college football team in the country is playing Minnesota, and they're ahead 35-3. Oh, anyway, on October the 24th is the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas, and also there's a Zoom component. The featured speaker is going to be Ryan Bennett from UNT. He's the planetarium director and observatory director at UNT, as well as other things he does. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas hosts Saturday night public observing sessions in this area. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights, so there could be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. On the first Saturday of the month, that would be tonight, the stargazing is held at Fairview. So, do we have a ham radio operator at the stargazing that would like to make a report? Come now with your call sign, if you are there and willing. They're probably busy. They're looking at the moon, they're looking at Saturn, some double stars like Alberio, and maybe a couple of deep sky objects, but the moon is well, I'll talk about the phases of the moon later on. So you can check the TASS website at texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. This is KF5JHA, back to our net control, N5BB.
Thank you, Chaz. Do we have any additional check-ins? This is N5BB, net control for Skynet. Hey, give me a few seconds. I need to be right away from the radio for a few seconds. I'll be right back. N5BB. Okay. Let's see. Don't see any more check-ins on Echolink or on the web form. So now we have National Space Society events and activities. Again, this is N5BB, and this is Skynet, run every week by the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. I happen to be the Vice President and the Membership Director of the National Space Society North Texas Chapter. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S., which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. Our local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just search for National Space Society of North Texas in the search box. And my browser went crazy. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. Our last meeting presentation was Mars Exploration past, present, and future. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. The next meeting will be held on Sunday afternoon, October the 12th. So not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. Our meetings are also available virtually on WebEx. Contact Bill in 5 Bravo Bravo if you'd like to attend. On the last Friday evening of each month from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is along the eastbound service road of Highway 635 in North Irving. Anyone's welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in a group is required. The next Space Rendezvous will be held on Friday evening, October the 31st. It's always the last Friday of the month, at our new location, which is Torchy's Tacos, 7855 of Las Colinas Ridge in Irving. This is about a block east of Cheddar's, the restaurant we used to meet at. The United States Mint opened sales for rolls and bags containing the fourth and final American Innovation Texas $1 coin of 2025 back in early August. The tail design of the coins honors the innovation of mission control at the Johnson Space Center in Texas. It has an astronaut in a spacesuit outside the ISS on the coin. These coins are legal tender, $1, but they're not released through the normal circulation. Please contact me in 5BB if you'd like one of these coins. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill in 5BB. That is QRZ listed email address, or at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE@BYROM.net. That's all we got. Do we have any other check-ins or questions or comments? This is N5BB and this is Skynet. Any other check-ins? So now, can we go to recent astronomical discoveries? Brenda, WB50ZL. What's going on the moon? This is N5BB, and this is Skynet.
Thank you, Bill. This is WB50ZL. The title of this article is "The Moon's Far Side is Hiding a Chilling Secret." The interior of the mysterious far side of the moon may be colder than the side constantly facing Earth, suggests a new analysis of rock samples co-led by UCL and Peking University researcher. The study, published in the journal Nature Geoscience, looked at fragments of rock and soil scooped up by China's Chang'e-6 spacecraft last year from a vast crater on the far side of the moon. The research team confirmed the previous findings that the rock sample was about 2.8 billion years old and analyzed the chemical makeup of its minerals to estimate that it formed from lava deep within the moon's interior at a temperature of about 1100 degrees centigrade, about 100 degrees centigrade cooler than existing samples from the near side. Co-author Professor Yang Li, based at UCL's Department of Earth Sciences and Peking University, said the near side and far side of the moon are very different at the surface and potentially in the interior. It is one of the great mysteries of the moon. We call it the two-faced moon. A dramatic difference in temperature between the near and far side of the mantle has long been hypothesized, but our study provides the first evidence using real samples. Co-author Mr. Zhulian Zhu, a PhD student at Peking University, said, "These findings take us a step closer to understanding the two faces of the moon. They show us that the differences between the near and far side are not only at the surface but go deep into the interior. The far side has a thicker crust, is more mountainous and cratered, appears to have been less volcanic, with fewer dark patches of basalt formed from ancient lava. I'm going to reset. In their paper, the researchers noted that the far side of the interior may have been cooler due to having fewer heat-producing elements such as uranium, thorium, and potassium, which release heat due to radioactive decay. Previous studies have suggested that this uneven distribution of heat-producing elements might have occurred after a massive asteroid or planetary body smashed into the far side, shaking up the moon's interior and pushing denser materials containing more heat-producing elements across the near side. Other theories are that the moon might have collided with a second smaller moon early in its history, with near side and far side samples originating from two thermally different moonlets, or that the near side might be hotter due to the tug of Earth's gravity. For the new study, the research team analyzed 300 grams of lunar soil allocated to the Beijing Research Institute of Uranium Geology. Shang He, the first author from the institute, explained the sample collected by the Change E6 mission is the first ever from the far side of the moon. The team mapped selected parts of the sample, made up largely of grains of basalt, with an electron probe to determine its composition. The researchers measured tiny variations in lead isotopes using an ion probe to date the rock as 2.8 billion years old, a technique relying on the fact that uranium decays into lead at a steady rate. The data were processed using a method refined by Professor Peter Vermeesch of UCL Earth Sciences. They then used several techniques to estimate the temperature of the sample while at different stages of its path when it was deep in the moon's interior. The first was to analyze the composition of materials and compare these to computer simulations to estimate how hot the rock was when it was formed or crystallized. This was compared to similar estimates of the near side rocks with a difference of 100 degrees centigrade. I've got to reset. As return samples are limited, they worked with a team from Shandong University to estimate parent rock temperatures using satellite data of the Change E landing site on the far side, compared with equivalent satellite data from the near side, again finding a difference this time of 70 degrees centigrade. On the moon, heat-producing elements such as uranium, thorium, and potassium tend to occur together alongside phosphorus and rare earth elements in material known as CREEP, that's K-R-E-E-P, rich. The acronym derives from potassium having the chemical symbol K, rare earth elements REE, and P for phosphorus. The leading theory of the moon's origin is that it formed out of debris created from a massive collision between Earth and a Mars-sized protoplanet and began wholly or mostly made of molten rock. This magma solidified as it cooled, but CREEP elements were incompatible with the crystals that formed and thus stayed for longer in the magma. Scientists would expect the CREEP material to be evenly spread across the moon. Instead, it is thought to be bunched up in the near side mantle. The distribution of these elements may be why the near side has been more volcanically active. This article is kind of long, so I think in the interest of space, we're going to cut it off there. This is from ScienceDaily.com, so you can go yourself and read the rest of it if you want to. Back to net, this is WV5OZL.
Well, thank you, Brenda. Do we have any questions, comments, or check-ins? This is Skynet, N5BB Net Controller. Nothing heard and no check-ins seen on Echolink or on the web form. So next we have the discussion topic of the evening from me, and this is from Scientific American this last few days. Faster-than-light galaxies are a fact of life in our expanding universe. When space itself expands, weird things can happen, like galaxies breaking the universe's ultimate speed limit. And this is by Phil Plait, the bad astronomer, who now writes for Scientific American. So, if there is an absolute law in the universe, it's that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. For science fiction enthusiasts, this is a bit depressing. Space is big, and while the speed of light is incredibly fast to us humans, on interstellar scales it's glacially slow. Even at a photon speed of about 300,000 kilometers per second, it's a journey of more than 4 years just to reach the closest star to our sun. But we have to be careful how we state this universal law. To be more specific, nothing can move faster than the speed of light through space. That may seem like a nitpick, but it turns out to have literally cosmic importance. To see why, we have to look at the behavior of the universe itself. One of the most important things the universe does is to expand. It's getting bigger every day. The foundational observations for this, which are made more than 100 years ago, show that distant galaxies appeared to be receding from us. Not only that, but ones further away were moving even faster. That's what an explosion does. At some time after the bang, the fastest moving material will be furthest away. This is where the idea of the Big Bang model for the origin of the universe comes from. The cosmic expansion can be measured as a rate, meaning at a given distance from us, a galaxy will be moving away from us at given speed. At a different distance, a galaxy will be moving at a different speed. We measure this as a rate of expansion called the Hubble constant. Our best measurements for this give a value of about 70 kilometers per second per megaparsec. In other words, a galaxy 1 megaparsec from us, that's about 3.26 million light years from us, will be receding at 70 kilometers per second. A galaxy 2 megaparsecs away will be moving about twice as fast, or 140 kilometers per second, etc. This is N5DB, and this is Skynet. Extrapolating this, though, runs us into trouble. It's not hard to see that at some distance from us, the recession speed will equal the speed of light. If you run the numbers, just using the speed of light divided by the Hubble constant, you'll find that the distance is about 14 billion light years. That distance is called the Hubble sphere. Anything further away than that would be, from our perspective, moving faster than the speed of light. Here's where things get weird. The universe is actually quite a bit bigger than that. We know the cosmos was born about 13.8 billion years ago. By some few hundreds of millions of years later, galaxies had formed. When we see the light from a distant galaxy, it's taken, say, 12 billion years to reach us. But over that time, the universe has expanded. So the light has actually had to travel much further farther than 12 billion light years to get to us. By the time the light reaches us, that galaxy is more like 23 billion light years away. That means there's galaxies outside our Hubble sphere, and they are moving away from us faster than the speed of light. How is that possible? And now we come back to choosing our words carefully. Yes, nothing can move faster through space. Nothing can move through space faster than light. But those galaxies aren't moving through space, they're moving with it. Because, to belabor this point, space itself is expanding, and that changes everything. The ultimate speed limit only matters for material objects, but space isn't included in that definition. Space can expand at whatever rate it wants, and that means that some distance from us is expanding faster than light. Galaxies, which are embedded in the fabric of space, are swept along with it. So past some threshold, in this case the boundary of the Hubble sphere, they move away from us at superluminal speeds. This is N5BB and this is Skynet. Here's an imperfect analogy. Imagine a boat on the ocean that can move across the water at 20 kilometers an hour. If the boat is headed away from you, that's how fast you'll see it moving. But now imagine the boat's in a current, moving at 30 kilometers an hour away from you. You'd now measure the boat moving at 50 kilometers an hour, even though the speed of the boat relative to the water is only 20. To be clear, this is only an analogy and shouldn't be taken too far, but it helps us picture how this works. So galaxies can move away from us faster than light, but how can we see them? Naively, you'd think the answer is no, because space is expanding too rapidly for light to catch up to us. But that's not actually the case. Imagine a galaxy just outside our Hubble sphere. We see it moving away at just faster than light. But from its point of view, the light it emits can easily reach the edge of our Hubble sphere after some time, because that edge is not as far from that galaxy. And once that light passes over that distance, it can, by definition, reach us. This means that we can, in fact, see galaxies outside that distance, even though galaxies are receding faster than light. Incidentally, this also means that from the perspective of galaxies just outside our own Hubble sphere, the Milky Way is moving away from them at superluminal speed. That's right. From a certain cosmic point of view, you're breaking a universal speed limit right now, even if you're sitting motionless in a chair. Does your head hurt yet? Yeah, I get it. But in fact, I'm being quite gentle and handy-wavy about this because it's all so extremely complex. To truly understand, you have to invoke Einstein's general theory of relativity, which complicates matters greatly. Relativistic physics describes all this very well, but translating into words is difficult. It's like trying to describe a symphony with words alone. You can talk its volume and pitch, but without hearing the music, these words can't possibly truly describe it. It amazes me that so many people not only understand the implications of general relativity, but use that physics in their day-to-day life, trying to understand the universe's behavior. A study called cosmology. And it's more wondrous that someone came up with this idea in the first place. Einstein was pretty smart, it turns out. But it also took a huge number of astronomers from all over the world working over the past century to get us to where we are now in that cosmic exploration. And we're still very far from understanding it all. There's still so much left to learn, and in an expanding universe, we may never reach the limit. So, does anybody have any comments or questions? Or do we have any additional check-ins? This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. Nothing heard, so now it's time for What's Up with Chaz. KF5JHA, this is N5DB. Chaz, what's up?
A co-conspirator Bob is right beside me meowing, so this could be interesting. This is KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what has gone on astronomically over the past couple of weeks and what will take place over the next couple of weeks and beyond. That was slide number 2. Slide number 3. Talk about slides. There's a video version of Skynet, and you can get to that by going to w5fc.org, clicking on the link about YouTube. And we have a YouTube. Yes, a YouTube channel. Okay. Slide 3. We have talked about the predicted nova of star T Corona Borealis, which may erupt at any time. It is currently at a brightness of around 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to be seen with just your 2 eyes. In fact, you can't see it with the binoculars. You'll need a good telescope. T Corona Borealis was supposed to go nova more than a year ago. Now, new predictions are November the 10th of this year or June the 25th of next year. We don't know when it's going to go nova. But when it does go nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star. Now, I can see the North Star, which is 2nd magnitude, with just my 2 eyes from my very light polluted location here in Mesquite, Texas. Slide Master, slide number 4. This image that you're looking at on the video version of Skynet was taken on August the 2nd, just a couple days ago. I grabbed this from spaceweather.com. The large sunspot complexes on the sun are so large at times that you could use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. The sun is near its 11-year solar maximum. We're not quite sure when the solar maximum will occur until after it happens. Now, I talked about the solar cycle about 5 months ago on Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 5. Now, last week I talked about a comet C2025 R3 Swan that's in the evening sky that's bright enough to maybe see with even binoculars. This week I'm going to talk about a different comet, Comet C2025A6 Lemon. It may be bright enough to see with binoculars in the evening sky as well. Maybe even in the morning sky. It's almost circumpolar. This image that you're seeing on the video version of Skynet was taken by Peter Van Horn, a friend of mine from Greenville, Texas, on Wednesday. Yes, this past Wednesday. SkyMaps.com has a finder chart for the comet at its current location. Right now it's visible in the northwestern evening sky and also low in the northeastern morning sky. I'm going to have to see if I can find it maybe tomorrow night. Okay. Slide Master, slide number 6. Oh, and for those that want to know, Ohio State just won the game 42-3 over Minnesota. Okay. Slide 6. This is the first quarter moon was on September the 29th, just a few days ago. So the current phase of the moon is a waxing gibbous. October the 6th, and just a few days from now, is full moon. On October the 8th, the moon is at perigee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 369,819 kilometers. On October the 13th, the moon is at its 3rd quarter phase. On October the 21st is the new moon. On October the 23rd, the moon is at apogee, which is a point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,444 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 7. On October the 5th is the conjunction of the Moon, Saturn, and Neptune in the eastern evening sky. Slide Master, slide number 8. On October the 8th, that is the conjunction of the asteroid Vesta and the bright star Antares in the southwestern evening sky. Slide Master, slide number 9. On October the 7th and the 8th, that night, is the peak of the Draconid meteor shower with, well, maybe a handful of meters, but it could be up to 1,000 meteors per hour. Most of the time, you'll see most of the meteors the hour just before dawn. Now, why is it such a range? Every once in a while, it has a huge peak or a huge spike in meters. What will it be this month, this year? I don't know. We'll know until after it happens. To get detailed information about how to observe meteors and meteor showers, you can go visit the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at amsmeteors.org. Slide Master, slide number 10. On October the 9th, there's an occultation of the Pleiades by the moon. Using a pair of binoculars or telescope will allow you to observe this event. Between 10:15 p.m. on October the 9th, all the way through October the 10th, around 3 p.m. This will give you the best views. Slide Master, slide number 11. On October the 9th and 10th is the peak of the southern Taurid meteor shower, with about half a dozen meters per hour. Now, once again, most of the time you'll see most of the meters the hour just before dawn. And IMO.net or amsmeteors.org will give you detailed information. Slide Master, slide number 12. On October the 10th, there's going to be a conjunction of the moon and Uranus and the Pleiades in the morning sky. Slide Master, slide number 13. On October the 14th is the conjunction of the moon and Jupiter high in the eastern morning sky. Slide Master, slide number 14. On October the 16th, the conjunction of Regulus and the moon in the eastern morning sky. Slide Master, slide number 15. On October the 17th, the planets Mars and Mercury are in conjunction in the western evening sky. You'll need a pair of binoculars to pull that out of the twilight. And finally, on September, on October the 17th and 18th, this is slide number 16, the peak of the Epsilon Geminid meteor shower, with about half a dozen meters per hour. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 17. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have a question, or maybe you need a fill on some of the information I've given you, or maybe you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Okay, slide number 18 says the moon will wane next week. So to these words for this segment of Skynet: stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live right now. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet transmitting on the W5FC repeater at 146.88 megahertz. Back to our net control. Bill, it's yours, N5BB.
Okay, thank you, Chaz. Do we have any questions or comments or additional check-ins? I do notice Clay, N5OF, over on the web forum. Hello, Clay. Anybody else want to check in or have any questions or comments? This is N5BB. This is Skynet.
November 5, Kilo Romeo Golf.
KRG. Hello, Kevin. Do you have any comments or questions, or are you just checking in?
Good evening, Bill, Chaz, Annette. No, I don't have any questions. I missed a lot of it driving back from Belton, where I was at the Hamfest today, so I'm just checking in for the count. Thanks very much for running the net, N5KRG.
Very good. Yep, my family is originally from a town called Gatesville, which is to the west of Belton, about, 30 miles or so. Very good. Okay. Don't see anybody else on the web form or on Echolink. So next is time for space exploration and space history. Gus, W5GUS, this is N5BD. Take it away, Gus.
Okay, thank you, Bill. W5GUS here. Yes, space exploration and space history. Got a few interesting things this week. The most distant and most powerful odd radio circle, or ORC, known so far has been discovered by astronomers. These curious rings are a relatively newly identified astronomical phenomenon, having been detected for the first time just 6 years ago, and only a handful of confirmed examples are known, most of which are 10 to 20 times the size of our galaxy. ORCs are enormous, needless to say. Faint, ring-shaped structures of radio emission surrounding galaxies that are visible only in the radio band of the electromagnetic spectrum and consist of relativistic magnetized plasma. Previous research has suggested they might be caused by shock waves from merging supermassive black holes or galaxies. Now, a new study published today in the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society proposes that the rings of light may actually be linked to superwind outflows from spiral host radio galaxies. Researchers led by the University of Mumbai made their discovery with the help of the Astronomy Collaboratory Citizen Science Platform and the Low Frequency Array, which is the world's largest and most sensitive radio telescope operating at low frequencies of 10 to 240 megahertz. The source lies nearly at redshift, which is minus 0.94 when the universe was, or in other words, when the universe was about half its current age, making it both the most distant and the most powerful ORC known to date. It also has not one, but two intersecting rings, only the second such example with this feature, sparking more questions than answers. I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more from that as time goes by. So we'll move on to a mystery solved. It rains on the sun, and thanks to researchers at the University of Hawaii Institute for Astronomy, we finally know why. Unlike water that falls from the sky on Earth, solar rain happens in the sun's corona, a region of superhot plasma above the sun's surface. The rain consists of cooler, denser blobs of plasma that fall back down after forming high in the coronas. For decades, scientists struggled to explain how this rain forms so quickly during solar flares. Well, that mystery was cracked by Luke Benovitz, a first-year graduate student, and IFA astronomer Jeffrey Reep, R-E-E-P. Their work recently published in the Astrophysical Journal. It adds a missing piece to decades of solar models. At present, models assume that the distribution of various elements in the corona is consistent throughout space, and which clearly is not the case, said Bernovitz. It's exciting to see that when we allow elements like iron to change with time, the models finally match what we actually observe on the sun, it makes the physics come alive in a way that feels real, he said. The new finding means solar scientists can better model how the sun behaves during flares, insights that could one day help predict space weather that affects our lives daily. Okay, let's check into the space-related birthdays from between the September 28th and October 4th. September 29th, 1942, Bill Nelson was born. He was on STS-61. September 29th, 1956, James Halsell was on STS-65, STS-74, STS-83, STS-94, and STS-101. Quite a long run on the space shuttle. Okay, September 30th, 1964, Stephen Frick was born. He was on STS-110 and STS-122. Okay, and October 1st, 1964, Eric Bach, VOC, was born. He was on STS-126, STS-133. And October 3rd, 1935, Charles Duke, kind of a familiar name. He was on Apollo 16. Okay, October 3rd, 1951, Catherine Sullivan was born. STS-41, STS-31, STS-45, and she was the first EVA extravehicular activity by an American woman. Okay, October 4th, 1957, Gregory Linteris. Happy birthday, Gregory. He was on, or you were on STS-83 and STS-94. Okay, yeah, happy birthday, if you're still with us. Okay, this week in space history. September 29, 1977, Soyuz 6 space station was launched into orbit. This was the 8th space station the Soviet Union launched under its Salyut program, and the first second-generation Salyut space station. Unlike its predecessors, Salyut 6 was able to accommodate long-duration crewed missions. Over the course of its 5 years in operation, 16 cosmonaut crews visited the station. The longest anyone stayed there was 185 days. The space station deorbited in 1982 and burned up in the Earth's atmosphere. Okay, now on our side of the Atlantic, or Pacific, September 29th, Space Shuttle Discovery roared off its launch pad at NASA Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The STS-26 mission returned American astronauts into space after a 32-month hiatus following the January 1986 Challenger accident that took the lives of 7 American astronauts. Presidential Commission investigating the accident identified approximate hardware and NASA organizational causes for the disaster. And the agency spent 2 years correcting the problems. Discovery's 5-man crew of Rick Houck, Dick Covey, Mike Longe, David Hilmers, and George Nelson completed a 4-day mission deploying their primary payload, which was a tracking and data relay satellite, and conducting science and technology experiments. The return to flight mission ended with a touchdown at Edwards Air Force Base in California. Okay, and then September 30th, 1995, Pioneer 11's scientific mission came to an end when NASA received the last transmission from Pioneer 11. It was the first human probe to reach Saturn. Originally scheduled to visit Jupiter, scientists decided to add to Pioneer 11's mission mid-flight, sending the craft to Saturn by using Jupiter's strong gravitational pull. Pioneer 11 visited Saturn's outer rings to collect data to aid the Voyager 2 mission, which flew by only 2 years later. Pioneer 11 remained in contact for another 16 years, which is not bad for a craft originally designed for only a 21-month mission. Currently, Pioneer 11 is traveling silently in the direction of the constellations Scutum. Maybe Chaz can tell us which direction that is later on. All right, let's move to October 2nd, 1608. Dutch spectacle maker, glasses maker, Hans Lippershey, was the first to apply for a patent for the design of a telescope. His patent was denied because the authorities felt that design could not be kept secret. But the Dutch government rewarded him richly for several binocular versions of his design. Less than a year later, the famous Italian astronomer Galileo designed a telescope of his own upon hearing of the previous device. Okay, let's move to October 3rd, 1967. The X-15, a NASA, U.S. Air Force, and U.S. Navy research craft, was designed to study high-speed flight. This flight was piloted by Air Force Major Pete Knight, and he set the unofficial speed record for piloted aircraft, reaching about 4,500 miles an hour, which is Mach 6.72. This was in October '67. Although not an official aviation record, as verified by the World Air Sports Federation of the FAI, the flight was extremely well documented, and no piloted aircraft has ever flown faster. The X-15 had a rocket engine and was air-launched from a B-52 aircraft about 45,000 feet, at about 45,000 feet. Before flying upwards into the upper atmosphere, and in addition to setting the speed record on October 3rd on an earlier flight, the X-15 also set the record for highest altitude, soaring 354,200 feet above the Earth. The altitude record stood until 2004, when it was finally broken by Spaceship One. This record-breaking aircraft is on display at the Air Force Museum at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. And I think they probably are talking about the X-15 and not Spaceship One, but maybe Spaceship One, don't know. Okay, we'll move to October 4th, 1957. Today's date, in 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first ever artificial satellite into orbit, ushering in the space age. They named it Sputnik, which means fellow traveler in Russian. And Sputnik could be seen orbiting the night sky with its distinct beeping telemetry broadcast around the world. NASA was formed within a year of the Soviet satellite's launch. Okay, fellow Sputniks, on our little blue speck here, let's turn the net back over to Chaz for Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week. Chaz, well, let's go back to net control to do that handover. Back to you, Bill, W5GUS.
Very good. Gus, sorry for the delay. Hang on a second. Okay, now I am back in control. Let's see here. What's next? My computer went to sleep. This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. Do we have any additional check-ins? I see K5JDW over on Echolink. John, do you want to check in on voice? Okay, I guess not. He says he did it online, but I don't see you online, but I do see you on Echolink. Oh no, you did. I'm sorry. You did check in much earlier on the web form. I apologize. Sorry about that. Okay, next. Do we have any other check-ins via any mode? This is N5BB, and this is Skynet.
Whiskey 5 Tango X-ray X-ray Jake Brelette.
Very good. W5TXX James and Rowlett. Welcome. Okay, now it's time for Tom. K5AI. No, it's not. It's time for Chaz. KF5JHA. Chaz, tell us some jokes and also about constellations. KF5JHA. This is N5BB.
Should I ask what's more important? Of course, it's the jokes. Of course, yes. Slide Master, slide number 19. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 until May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covers the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And I've added several more, so we're up to about 70 constellations we covered during the year. In her honor, in Carolyn's honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellations of the week this week are Pisces Austrinus, the Southern Fish, and Grus. What the heck is a Grus? Well, maybe you'll figure this out soon. I asked that question last week as a teaser. Maybe some of you looked it up. Slide Master, slide number 20, the jokes of the week. All right, where do fish keep their money? In the riverbank, of course. Why did the fish get bad grades? Because it was always below sea level, S-E-A-E, sea level. Why don't fish like playing basketball? Because they're terrified of nets. Okay, the next three should maybe give you an idea of what Grus is. Lightweight babies are delivered by the stork. Heavy babies are delivered by a crane. What kind of bird works on a construction site? A crane. What bird can lift the most? A crane. That was the answer on all three of the last ones, yes. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 21. Pisces Austrinus, the southern fish, is located below Aquarius. The Greeks knew the constellation as the Great Fish and depicted it as swallowing the water poured out by Aquarius, the water bearer. The two fish represented by Pisces, the constellation, were said to be the offspring of the Great Fish. Slide master, slide number 22. Fomalhaut, Alpha Pisces Austrini, is derived from the Arabic, which means the mouth of the fish. It's one of the four royal stars, or heavenly watchers, of the ancient Mesopotamians, and the others called Regulus, Aldebaran, and Antares. How about that? Fomalhaut is the 18th brightest star in the sky, shining at magnitude 1.3. It is a main sequence A3 star, about twice the diameter of our Sun, and 14 times more luminous than our Sun. It lies at a distance of 23 light years away. Fomalhaut became noteworthy for being the first star to have an extrasolar planet known as Fomalhaut B that has been imaged in visible light. Wow. LaSalle 9352. This is a faint noteworthy star, lies in the southeastern corner of the constellation, about 1 degree south-southeast of Pi Pisces Austrinus. LaSalle 9352 can be seen in a 50-millimeter finder telescope. The star is noted for being the 10th closest star to our solar system, for its very long, large proper motion as well. It has the fourth fastest proper motion in the sky. The three faster stars are Barnard's star in Ophiuchus, Kaelin's star in Pictor, and the Groombridge 1830 in Ursa Major. LaSalle 9352 is the red dwarf star of magnitude 7.39 and is 11.9 light years away. Its luminosity is only 1/85th that of our Sun, so it's kind of a faint star. Slide master, slide number 23. The new general catalog, NGC 7314, or Halpin Art number 14, in its Atlas of Peculiar Galaxies, noted that 7314 has a spiral with detached segments and having the almost no nucleus. Dave Hutchinson writes that ARP-14 is magnitude around 11th magnitude spiral galaxy and is classified as a Seyfert galaxy. Seyfert galaxies are active galaxies that show high ionization emission lines. Dave Hutchinson also describes NGC 7314 as an easy target with a 16-inch Newtonian telescope, and reports that some seen this galaxy with as small as a 6-inch telescope. 7313 NGC, Dave Hutchinson describes this galaxy as a faint, small companion that's not very far away to the southwest of NGC 7314, which shines at a meager 14.39 magnitude. It's kind of faint to see. Slide master, slide number 24. Higgson Compact Group 90, which is NGC 7173, 7174, and 7176. The three galaxies will eventually merge into one, HCG, that's Higgson Compact Group 90. It's approximately 100 million light years distance from the Earth. The three pictured galaxies are part of the Higgson Compact Group 90, named for astronomer Paul Higgson, who first cataloged these small galaxies in the 1980s. NGC 7173 and NGC 7176 appear to be smooth, normal elliptical galaxy without much gas and dust. In stark contrast, NGC 7174 is a mangled spiral galaxy, barely clinging onto an independent existence as it is being ripped apart by its close neighbors. Slide master, slide number 25. All right, here we go. Grus. Constellation is in the southern sky. Its names mean the crane in Latin. The stars of Grus were once part of the constellation Pisces Austrinus. The constellation first appeared in Celestial Atlas in 1603 by Jonathan Bayer, Unimetria. The early 17th century, it briefly went by the name of the Flamingo. Grus is the 45th constellation in size, occupying an area of 366 square degrees in the sky. Grus was one of the 12 constellations created by the Dutch explorers in the late 16th century. The only connection with the crane with the mythology lies in the fact that it was a secret bird to the god Hermes. Slide master, slide number 26. The star Almaer, also Alpha Grusus, is the brightest star in the constellation. It has an apparent magnitude of 1.74 and approximately 101 light years in distance from our solar system. Alpha Grusus, either a main sequence star with a stellar classification of B65 or a B74 classification subgiant. It has a radius of 3.4 times that of the Sun. 4 times the solar mass of our Sun, is about 263 times more luminous than our Sun. The star's estimated age is 100 million years. Almaer is a rapid rotator with projected rotational velocity of 215 kilometers per second. Based on the excess infrared emission, the star is believed to have a dust disk in its orbit. Somewhere as it's orbiting it. Delta Grusus is a binary star. It's composed of a G73 type star, which is an apparent magnitude of 3.97, and an M4.53A class star with a magnitude of 4.17. Under good conditions, both stars in this binary system are visible to the naked eye. Slide master, slide number 27. The Grus Quartet is a group of 4 interacting galaxies, NGC 7552, 7590, 7599, and 7582, located northeast of the star Theta Grusus. All the galaxies are members of the IC 1459 group. IC means, well, you can't see it sometimes because it's faint. The galaxies occupy an area of only 10 arc minutes across, are sometimes known as the Grusus triplet, even though there's 4 of them. Slide master, slide number 28. The Spare Tire Nebula. The Spare Tire Nebula is a beautiful planetary nebula located about 3,000 light years away from us, and can be seen about a degree west of the Lambda Grusus star. Nicknamed the Spare Tire Nebula, its diameter is a couple of light years across, and it's one of the fastest expanding planetary nebulas known, with an expansion rate of 50 kilometers per second. The nebula occupies an area of 2 arc minutes by 2 arc minutes, and has a visual magnitude of 16.5, which is really faint. It lies at approximately 3,000 light years from the Earth. I think I already said that, yes. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 29. There are a few more astronomical leak-observing program objects in the constellation of Pisces Austrinus. the southern fish, and Grusus the crane. Well, Grus, really. I have just shown you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 96 different observing programs. Most of them have about 100 objects. Now, if you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen in about a year from the Astronomical League. Slide master, slide number 30, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellations of the Week. Pisces, Astronus, and the Southern Fish, and Grus the Crane. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website, constellation-guide.com, for information. Now, next week we'll take a look at Lacerda, the lizard. Yep, there's a lizard in the sky. And this is KF5JHA. Chaz saying goodnight, 73. Back to our net control. Bill, it's yours, N5BB.
Thank you there, Chaz. Tom, K5ICX. Do you want to give us any visible satellite passages or rocket launches? K5ICX, here's N5BB. We don't have much time.
Bill, really not much I could say. I'll give one. October 7th is Starlink 10-59. Will be launching from SLC 40 at Cape Canaveral in Florida. This will be a 28 Starlink V2 mini satellites launched in low Earth orbit. A little bit after, 8 minutes after liftoff, first stage booster, tail number B1090, launching towards 8 time will land on its own ship in the Atlantic Ocean. I'll give it back to you, Bill. You got 1 minute to close her down.
Okay, Tom, do we have any additional check-ins before I close the net? This is N5BB, and this is Skynet. Okay, tonight
complete operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Skynet. I want to thank everybody for their participation. We hope you join us next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. for another Skynet to just astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand, please contact a net control or send a message to nets@w5cfc.org. That's nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net, astronomy in general, on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources, going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is N5BB closing a net at 10:31 p.m. Central Time. Returning repeater to normal amateur use for just a moment before we go to the afterglow net. 73, everybody. Enjoy the evening discovering the universe. This is N5BB closing Skynet. Good night.
And thank you, Bill, for doing the net this evening. This is KE5ICX. We'll begin the Expo Movie Net, tonight's movie Free Enterprise from 1998-1999. Here in about 5 minutes, so that's enough time to go make some microwave popcorn. Come back and we'll be discussing this rather unusual movie. Back in 5. This is KE5ICX.
Just to let you know, if you go to heavens-above.com and put in your information about your location, you can get information about satellite passages. This past Wednesday, the International Space Station went right overhead about 8:45. It was beautiful. It's the brightest I've ever seen it. And so that would be something interesting to go out and see. You could see it from downtown Dallas if you wanted to. It was that bright. So this is KF5JHA. Good night, everyone.
All right, and run back to the radio. It is time to talk about tonight's movie called Free Enterprise from 1998 or 1999, depending on when you want to say it was released. Since I don't think it ever got a theatrical release. If it did, it wasn't very long. I think they made like $15,000 in its release. So there wasn't a lot of money involved with it. However, it is fairly well known in fan circles. A lot of people are aware of this film. It's available online, and it is streaming for free over on Flex this month. So let me tell you a little bit about it, and then give you the description. It's called Free Enterprise from 1999, a romantic comedy starring, at the time, an unknown Eric McCormick. You may remember him from Will and Grace, and Rafer Weigel, and featuring William Shatner. You may remember him from some science fiction series, directed by Robert Burnett and written by Mark Altman, who is known quite well in the Star Trek circles. The plot: the film deals with a midlife crisis of its two main protagonists, Mark and Robert, fictionalized versions of the film's director and producer-writer. You thought I was kidding earlier. No, these are semi-autobiographical. The two friends struggle with adult career and relationship problems, all the while defiantly clinging to the geeky science fiction popular culture of their youth and seeking advice from their greatest hero, William Shatner. Shatner plays a campy character of himself as he works on a one-man musical version of Julius Caesar in hopes of finally being taken seriously as a dramatist and musical performer. Hip-hop artist, the Rated R, joined by Shatner, provides the concluding musical number, No Tears for Caesar, a dash of the famous lines from the play set to a rap rhythm. The film's score was produced by Scott Spock, which in music numbers, I'm not aware of this because I'm over 30, but he is known for producing music for lots of people: Shaq Kareem, Jason Mraz, David Bowie, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Claire Busted, and Rihanna, as amongst those are just a few. He has a degree in Bachelor of Science and Math degrees in Statistics, Bachelor of Music in Music and Jazz in 1989, and he was awarded, he is as of 2024. Apparently he's been nominated for Song of the Year for the 45th Annual Grammys and the 46th Annual Grammys. So this guy is no slouch, apparently. And his music film score for it is pretty good, as well as No Tears for Caesar, which is the concluding number with credits. Okay, a little bit about the film, which I think you'll find interesting. Rindle, I think it is, Rindle, a friend of Mark Altman and Robert Burnett, and a television writer on Millennium and Twilight Zone, felt that they could make a film out of their cliches, Cook's obsession with Star Trek. Burnett remembered that one day Altman called him to read a scene where he'd been beaten up in a junior high school for wearing a Trek uniform. William Shatner appeared to him as a vision and told him to fight back. Altman wrote the first draft, and then Burnett rewrote it. When Altman and Burnett approached Shatner about being in Free Enterprise, he was not interested. I played my Kirk persona as far as I wanted to go, and probably as far my favorite here. He also incorporated several anecdotes from Shatner's actual life. Says in the release, Free Enterprise had a tiny theatrical release. That answers our question again. In only 9 Los Angeles theaters in 1998 with little promotion. Burnett said nobody went to see it. It was really disheartening. In his review of the Los Angeles Times, Kevin Thomas said the film brought new life into the Hollywood set romantic comedy genre and was funny, sharp, and engaging. The LA Weekly said it was very funny, likable comedy about geeks in love. In a review for the Washington Post, Jen Chaney praised the often funny and, strangely enough, sometimes touching performance by Shatner. Now, I will tell you this. It doesn't say it here, but I would venture so far as to say this may have been something that this movie inspired the Big Bang Theory. It has a lot of the same vibes in it, has the same respect and disrespect at the same time for the genre of science fiction, and specifically Star Trek and Star Wars. Oh, and let's throw in Logan's Run as well. But in all cases, it has that vibe to it. So if you haven't seen it, and you have seen The Big Bang Theory, which I suspect just about everybody listening has, you get kind of an idea of what they were heading for. But this is the original right here. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and take check-ins. After that, we'll talk about the plot, characterization, and any of the special effects or anything you want to add to tonight's discussion. So let's go ahead and get started. Please comment your call sign, your name, and did you see the film? Remember, if you're out there and you're listening for the first time, you can still check in. You can talk about anything you want. Just because you haven't seen the movie, we hope you will go see it because I think you'll like it. So here we go. Please comment your call sign, your name, and did you see the film?
I guess someone has to go first. NT5TM, Tony in Dallas. I saw it all many years ago, and about half of it tonight, and I have some strange anecdotes.
Wow, it may just be us, Tony, tonight. I got NT5TM. Anyone else want to come aboard?
Whiskey 5 Tango X-Ray X-Ray Jake and Rowlett.
Kilo Bravo 9, Oscar Kilo, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, I did see this film.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth. I saw about the first third of it.
Okay, we teased out a few more. I got W5TXX, James and Rowlett. Welcome, James. I heard you on earlier. Did you get a chance to see part of the film?
Only about the first, maybe. Okay, Jake.
Okay, that's fine. That's enough to get, I think, an impression. Next up, KB9SOK, Sean in Fort Worth. Yes, he saw the film. NV5F, Virginia in Fort Worth. He saw part of the film. Anyone else want to join us? Please come now with your call sign name. Did you see tonight's movie, which is called Free Enterprise from 1998? Oh my, there's a big commotion outside my window here. I live off of Ocean Drive in Corpus Christi these days, and it's a popular street with lots of activity. No gunplay, that's good. So I guess we're okay. I may have to dive under the table, but we're close to the police department, so not a bad deal. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started with that. Well, let me go and check over on Echolink. Anyone, let me give Echolink a chance to check in. I think Brenda told me she might be a little late, but I see her on there. If she wants to check in, she can. But if you're driving, Brenda, don't bother. We'll get you when we get you. So anyone over on Echolink who would like to check in, please come now with your call sign name. Did you see the film? All right, hearing none. And Jake, I'm sorry, I called you James, and it is Jake. I see that over on Echolink. I made my correction, so I come back to you. I'll call you by the right name. We'll start with Tony, NT5PM. Tony, what you think about the plot? I know it's been a while since you've seen it, although your memory was refreshed earlier this evening or yesterday. So what do you think? Did you like the movie and the plot, or Free Enterprise?
Good evening, Tom. Yes, I clearly could not have seen this in its original theatrical release, but when I started watching it tonight, I kept saying the dialogue along with the characters. I must have seen this somehow, maybe on Laserdisc, maybe on VHS, on some arcane transmission method that only happened to people in the late 90s and early 2000s. Somehow I saw this movie. And I remember enjoying it then. I enjoyed it now. I really didn't think it was very plot-driven. I don't think the musical of Julius Caesar was ever going to happen. I just remember finding it very humorous. You know, oh, you're about to turn 30, because I first saw this in my 20s. Oh, it seems so far away. Perhaps you'll be renewed. And I thought, oh, yeah, that might happen to me. No, I'm 50 now. I have not yet been renewed. So I saw this so long ago, and when I was reminded of it just now, it was just fun and lighthearted and quirky, and I thought it was mostly okay, although I did have a horrible trivia problem. One of the characters said that one of the other characters only knew about the word Wagnerian because of a shriekback lyric. Unfortunately, I don't know what lyric that was. I had a friend who was a shriekback fan, and I liked a couple of their songs too, and so I got totally distracted about trying to find out what lyric that was, and yeah, centaurs and monkeys, they crash around us, blah, blah, blah. I can't figure out what lyric that was. I don't know what Wagner said, but I enjoyed it. I found it lighthearted. I enjoyed the lighthearted memories coming back. I'm just perplexed by what lyric they were going for because I can't find it. NT5PM.
Oh, I love it, Tony. You got tripped up on secondary trivia references. Now, you know, when you're nerdish enough to know all the Star Trek references and most of the science fiction ones, when you get into the music obscure ones and you can't recall, there you go. They got you on a whole another deeper cut level. So congratulations, you've been hooked. But you'll figure it out. Of course, you've got the interwebs. You can always find it that way. Or I think you can hum in them. I don't know. Just say, who knows? There's a way of doing it. Ask Siri. She'll tell you. Okay, let's see here. Jake said he saw it, so we'll go with him. W5TXX. Jake, what did you think about? I think you said you saw part of the film. What did you think about it? What were your first impressions from KE5 ICX?
Well, I didn't see a whole lot of it, but what I did see, I noticed one actor that I knew from quite a bit of other stuff I think his name was Eric McCormick from Travelers and Will and Grace. It was kind of funny seeing him in something that wasn't like an A-list production type thing. So that was very interesting for me. Back to net control, W5TXX.
Yeah, he can be very interesting. He has an interesting delivery, the way he does the humor. And I know him best from Will and Grace, but I did see him in the Travelers series. I thought he was very good in that as well. But I mostly know him from Will and Grace. But he does a really nice job in it. And when he did the remake, or the return, I think it was just half a season they did. It didn't do very well. It's still pretty good. All right, next up is Sean, KV9SOK. Sean, what do you think about, well, I don't know, the plot story for our movie this evening, Pre-Enterprise?
Yeah, this is KV9SOK. Well, this one, I actually, my review may not be very popular. I wanted to like this 2 weeks in a row. I've said this. So I'm going to start out with the positives. It was fun to try to figure out the references. And look for the sub-references. It almost becomes a game to try to catch everything that they're throwing in there. So that part of the movie was kind of fun. And some of those jokes, referencing the original series and other stuff, were entertaining. I did enjoy those. I did get some laughs out of this movie, which I did not get out of last week's movie. So there was that. That was a positive. But the negative side of this one for me was, a part of this almost felt like it was written by a 16 or 17-year-old, just because we had overwhelmingly a ton of sexual references in jokes, and it would just seem so overdone. And it felt bad because, we had some intelligent jokes in there referencing shows and movies, but then we sprinkled in this teenager-type humor, which I did, after a while, it got old. If they had just lightly did some of that, it could have been, I think, much better. It would have been much more fun. I do realize that was supposed to be part of what the movie is about, with these guys struggling with midlife crisis, but they leaned into that side of it so hard. I didn't think they need to. They were already making the references, and they were touching in on another point of the plot, was fandom. We had this guy that obviously was just obsessed, and so much so that it was overwhelming his life, and it was literally ruining his life on some levels. And that's a real thing. So, they had some good stuff in there, but I think they just way overdid the sexual innuendos and the jokes. And it's interesting that you bring up the Big Bang Theory, because the same thing kind of happened there. In the first several seasons, the show was actually quite funny, quite good, because they stuck primarily to, talking about, obviously comic books and, just general science references. And obviously they had, in the beginning, you only had the one girl, and there was some of those kind of jokes were in it, but they were just sprinkled in. So it was funny. It wasn't overdone. It didn't like every week was the same story. But the final 5 seasons of that series, they had dived very heavily into that, like the movie did. And I, to be honest, started not to really enjoy it much, because it became the same joke over and over and over. And I kind of felt that's what this movie did as well, which is unfortunate, because it's like half of the movie I liked, but the other half just got old, and quite honestly, I got bored with it. And then, the musical number at the end, okay, I could have done without that. I'll give Shatner credit for willing to do that. At that point, I actually did find it funny. It reminded me of when the Klingons were singing in Strange New World, and it was like, this didn't need to happen. But anyway, so I was kind of torn. There was a part of the movie I liked, and then half of the movie I didn't. So, anyway, back to that KV9SOK.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sean. That's why when they rank these movies, they have like a numbering system as to approval rating from like 0 to 10, or stars stars or whatever it is, thumbs up, thumbs down type of thing. So, yeah, not everything is going to be a classic, but not everything's a total bomb. Most movies are going to fall somewhere in between. In fact, I think most movies fall under a mediocre. So, I wouldn't say this is mediocre. I think it's above average. That's my opinion. Okay, next up is Virginia, NV5F. Your thoughts? Go ahead from KE5ICX.
Okay, well, the things that some of the things Sean listed were actually the reason I only saw about a third of this. The plot was thin. It was hard to tell what the plot even was. I mean, I knew these guys were trying to be in the entertainment industry and were obviously film nerds. They knew every film. And then they were, on top of that, they were toy collectors and science fiction nerds back when science fiction was, way more fringe than it is. Conventions are not. They're so mainstream now. But to me, and I don't want to get too far into character, but I was having a hard time figuring out what this was about, except that, hey, we got William Shatner to be in this, and then my thoughts on the Big Bang Theory in comparison to this were that it did have there was a similar vibe, but they could only do so much on network TV, which actually forced them to think about plot and make characters that we actually liked and make a story that we could actually appreciate. And I think that this was like, with the references, it was like one big, long, like, adult Animaniacs episode. It was just like everything was a reference to something else, and that was kind of starting to be popular in the late 90s, and you just kind of had to figure out what it all was. And it was promising at first. I was like, okay, these kids, it's the 70s, they're into Star Trek, they're going to see the motion picture, they're showing them, flashing back to them as kids, and then, after they show them as adults, and then they're, and I'm like, okay, this is all right. And then all of a sudden it was nothing but, it was nothing but I don't know, it just took some nerdiness away from them that the one guy especially was, just completely obsessed with, getting some, and it's not my cup of tea. I find it, I don't mind double entendres, I don't mind grown-up humor if it's done for a reason or done well, but to me it was just puerile was the only word I could think of, and I was like, it just makes me uncomfortable, if it's in context. But it was just distracting. It was like I can't even figure out what this movie's about because I'm uncomfortable about when the next, two overly off-color moment is going to be. And I just couldn't keep my mind on the plot, and there wasn't enough of a plot to really, distract from the distracting. It wasn't even just sexual humor, it was just sex. It was like, okay, how much sex can we get in this? And, let's show William Shatner looking at porn in the bookstore, or, it's just not really, it could have been so much more fun and so much less, obnoxious. So I didn't get through it. I had to kind of ditch. Because I just was uncomfortable and I wasn't enjoying it, so that's why I didn't make it through it. But there was something, there was something there that I kind of thought was interesting at the beginning, and it, to me it just went off the rails with being too juvenile, too much juvenile guy stuff. So that's it for me on the plot. I'm not sure what happened because I didn't stay long enough to find out what happened. Back to net NV5S.
All right, thank you for tuning. Well, I'm going to fill you in a little bit here. Let me go ahead and ask, we're at the bottom of the list. Anyone else want to join us this evening? We're talking about tonight's movie, Pre-Enterprise from 1998, 1999. You pick which premiere, one in 98 or one in 99, whichever one you think was the actual year that it came out. It doesn't matter, but if you'd like to join us, please come down.
This is Whiskey 5, Bacon, Lettuce, Tomato, W5BLT, Bill. I kind of saw some of it. I skipped through and jumped to the end. So I might have seen 25%.
Okay, we picked up one more, W5BLT, Mr. Bill. So you did see it, so you're next on the list. So of the 1/4 of the film you saw, what did you think?
Okay, well, so the humor and the cussing is not my cup of tea. That being said, I think they had a good plot. They had a good idea. I was kind of hoping maybe something along the lines of Galaxy Quest or something with the kids, and maybe they did more with that. And so yeah, it just. I love Star Trek, and I love the line with the kids on the playground, and the one guy said that Han Solo was a better than Captain Kirk, and tells the kid to go beat him up and stuff. So, I mean, there were some funny parts, and that's where I really struggled with it, because I think it could have made and done well. It could have made a lot of money, or a decent amount, had they kind of cleaned it up a little bit, and maybe instead of going for an R rating, tried for PG or something. But I was excited when you announced it, and I'm like, oh, okay, and I started getting into it, and so, again, I realize there's different genres and movies for all audiences. I've seen anywhere from 15 to 30,000 on this movie, and I think, one of the directors or writers said nobody went to see it. Well, it probably is because if you were wanting to go, maybe you thought this was going to be a more family-friendly Star Trek thing, or with William Shatner, and it wasn't that. So you couldn't really take a kid or maybe a young teen to see it, and I think that's where it kind of missed out for me. So I think it could have done really well. I think they had a great premise. They obviously got William Shatner to sign off on it eventually. To tell you the truth, I enjoyed the documentary I sent out on the movie and the making of it. I found that very fascinating. And some of the films we watch, I find the reason that they made it in the documentary more entertaining and interesting than the film itself. And that was the case in this one. There were some funny lines in it, and I skipped around and skipped to the end. And again, I can remember turning 30 and feeling quite dismayed at the time. And I just turned 56, so I'm really dismayed. But they had a good idea and a good premise, And the plot, we've kind of seen before where, either men or women are struggling with this, turning a certain age. But yeah, I think it's not necessarily the film itself, but the expectations that I had fell a little short. W5PLT.
All right, thank you, Bill. Yeah, I understand. You see here, I was just chatting with Brenda. She is destinated, but I don't see her. She's going to be on Echolink. I don't think she's there yet. I'm scanning the thing. I'll tell you what, I'm going to give my comments, and then hopefully... No, I think she just came on. So... Brenda, WB5OZL, are you in a position where you would like to talk about the plot for tonight's movie, Free Enterprise? Or would you like me to take the lead first and then I'll bring you in afterwards? It's up to you. I see you online now. So let me know from KE5ICX.
Oh, this is WB5OZL. Thank you for waiting. I'm still in the parking lot at my apartment. About to leave soon to go to my son's. So I'll go ahead and talk now, and then I can go drive. And this has been an unusual evening. When they say the wheels fell off, that literally happened with my little cart. I was putting my laundry in it, and the wheel just fell off. And I needed to bring the door prizes Tuesday, so, anyway, enough. The plot, it wasn't a spectacular plot. The whole thing was a contrivance to utilize William Shatner and use a bunch of quotes from old movies, and I'm sure these guys sat around and had a great time digging up quotes, but it's just kind of like with some of my friends. I belong to an actual Star Trek science fiction fan club, and that's kind of what we do. We talk in movie lines and punch lines and in jokes. So it was a lot like that. I'll have to say there were a few of the lines I didn't get. I haven't seen every movie in the world, but to me it was just a wonderful romp. Lots of fun. The characters were engaging. The story wasn't bad. It just wasn't a real highly evolved plot, in my opinion. But I just thought it was tons of fun, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I actually think I would like to watch it again, and I am sure Tom has a lot more knowledge of these Star Trek lines than I do. We need to watch it with Tom so he can tell us what episodes those were from, because he's good at that. Let's see, what else? Bill Shatner's just so lovable. I used to not like him because he was kind of obnoxious, but I like him now, and I think he kind of got over being mad about being Kirk, and now he's embracing it. So that's fun. All right, back to net, and I'm going to drive. WB5OZL.
All right, thank you, Brenda. Thank you. Anyone else want to check in before I go ahead and spout off? Please, some of you call sign name, please tell. Okay, well, let me try and kind of make my comments based on a little bit about what the comments were here. I kind of understand where these guys are coming from, and anybody who's a geek or growing up kind of gets it as well. And, you know, the thing is this, there's a multitude of things going on. One of them is when you watch the film, you see the guys as kids, they're 12, I guess, going to see Star Trek motion picture. You flash forward or flash back, depending on how you're looking at it, at their present age, which is in their 30s, just about to turn 30, they're still together. They're still friends. They're still doing the same things. They're going to movies together. They're buying all the comic books. They're kind of in that arrested development because that's the cocoon that they're comfortable with, except that they're getting older. Things are getting complicated. They got bills to pay. They got jobs to go to that they don't want to do, but at the same time, they're being pushed into adulthood, and they don't want it. And they are relying on each other to emotionally support one another in a way. Yeah, the sex thing is coming into play, too, which is a complicated thing for them. And that's, I think, what they were trying to handle. I think that Big Bang Theory, of course, did a better job with it, plus they had many years to refine their product along the way and lots of money to do it with, too, since it was a very popular TV show, and they smartly did it. But I think they took their inspiration from this movie, and that's how they were able to take and fix any of the mistakes that were going on. I wasn't offended by it. I think it was interesting. Was it necessary? I don't think to the degree that they were showing it, but I think it was a part of their persona and their coming of age, if you will. But it could have been maybe better handled, but I didn't think it was offensive in any way. I think it was just kind of the characters as they appear. And it's sort of autobiographical, so if this is what the two guys want to show, the producer and the writer, that's fine. You know, I don't mind, and it was cute. Shatner brings it together. I think he has his own problems in this, playing a fictional version of himself, which is fine. And I think he had fun doing it. He gave it a little bit of a more character slant to it. They were talking about, like, My Favorite Year, or what was the other, Play It Again, Sam. The Woody Allen film has kind of a similar vibe to it. So I was okay with it. Some of the things that you know, when you're watching the film, that's interesting is, of course, all the lines that they're throwing out there. And what's interesting is there's way more in there than you think. There are lines that are obvious, long soliloquies from Star Trek or from Logan's Run, and there's throwaway stuff for 2001 and Soylent Green and things like that, all the different movie quotes. But there are some lines that are just a few words that are from movies and television, specifically Star Trek, and you go, oh, yeah. And you know what the next line is, and you just know it because you've seen these things so many times, and you go, oh, I know what that is, and then you go back and you can deconstruct it and figure out what it's from. And I will tell you, if you had somebody didn't get a chance to see the whole movie, you should have stayed and watched the credits. They were hilarious. There's a lot of funnies in there as well, similar to what they did with Police Squad, or Naked Gun, or Airplane, that sort of thing. The characters come out of the thing more whole, more rounded. They finally get more comfortable with coming of age and, you know, reaching 30, and that they realize it's not the horrible thing that it needs to be. Having normal relationships are okay. Having ongoing relationships is a positive, and that growing up is kind of an important part of your life. It doesn't mean you have to leave your identity behind, but your identity can't always be couched in television shows and movies. So I think that was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. As I've always said, your movie has to Your story has to have something happen that improves or changes the lives of your protagonists. And it did happen in this, so I think it delivered. I think it could have been done in less time. I think it was the 2 hours or just under 2 hours, I think it was. I forget. It ran a little long. It could have been done in about an hour and 10 minutes easily without, I don't think that would play in theaters very well, but an hour and 10 minutes probably is about what that movie could have been. So I was okay with that. If you're watching the credits at the end, there's a cute final scene with them making the movie. It's a mock scene, of course, but it's still cute, and it's endemic of what your producer and director were trying to tell the audience through the characters that they tell the audience through themselves to the cast and to the audience. It's kind of cute. The picture inside the picture type of thing. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and go back to the top. We'll talk about characterization, such as it is. We've only got a few characters in here, so we'll probably blaze through this, but we'll see. Tony, you're top of the list, NT5TM. What did you think about the characterization for our film, Free Enterprise from 1998?
Well, I did enjoy the characters, but I think I enjoyed them in part because it was a sort of a nostalgic look back at the past. Oh, what will we do with all these things that we have? How will we go forward from here? I unfortunately don't think the world turned out that way, but I did enjoy the optimism that was present in the movie at the time. And unfortunately, I have a very irritated parrot on my shoulder. So I'm going to drop off here, NC5TM.
Oh, wow, we lost one already. Okay, well, the parrot is probably a film critic. Okay, next up is Jake, W5TXX. Jake, what did you think about the characters from Free Enterprise? I think he may have dropped off too. Let me try one more time. I don't see him on Echolink, but I don't recall if he was over air or Echolink. W5TXX. Jake, are you out there? Okay, well, I'll try again later. Next up is Sean, KB9SOK. Sean, characterization, what do you think?
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. Well, the characters, you can definitely tell them apart in this one. I will say I do think it was well acted. I think you mentioned him earlier. I think his name's Eric, the guy who played Will from Will and Grace. I thought his performance was pretty good, but I think he's a pretty good actor. I did enjoy William Shatner. Like I said, I gave him credit for willing to do this, and he did poke fun at himself, and there's definitely some parallels there with, obviously, him wanting to do more serious stuff, but after being tied to Star Trek, he wasn't able to, and they pretty much made reference to anything he's ever made, even the TV show P.J. Hooker. So, yeah, I thought as far as that goes, that was good. But, yeah, this was, just I guess, like you said, coming to age thing. We had the one guy that was just kind of an alcoholic that just wanted to drink all the time. And then, obviously, we had the two film guys. One had matured enough to move forward to keep a job, but yet still wasn't ready to settle down with anybody. and then we had the guy that just wasn't ready to grow up at all. So yeah, not a lot to say on this part. So yeah, back to that. KB9 SOK.
Thanks to Sean. Next up, Virginia, ND5F. Characterization, it's your turn.
Okay, well, the characters were, I guess, pretty stereotypical, but I didn't think they were nerdy. I didn't think the guys were enough of nerds. They, they got it a lot better in Big Bang Theory. These guys were like, the one guy was, I guess he's the main character. He was, they're supposed to be these big nerds who spend all their money on toys and talk about movies all the time, but then they can just get chicks or whatever. It just didn't really, I don't know, they just didn't seem, they weren't lovable. I didn't like them. That's probably why I didn't stick with this. I might have stuck with some discomfort and some, off-putting, graphic sexual things that I didn't really care to see or hear. If I'd liked these people more, I just didn't like them very much, and I had a feeling that, there probably was some kind of character arc and that the ending was maybe better than the beginning, but I just couldn't stay with it because the women in it, I didn't like any of them either. I like William Shatner. He's funny. He can make fun of himself. He does have an ego, that's huge, but, he can at least sort of acknowledge, things, and, I think he realizes how fortunate he is, and I don't know, they're just with, showing the characters as kids and showing their past, and like others have said, this could have been it could have been a heartwarming thing with references to certain things that could have kept it in like the PG territory, and it could have been, it just could have been a lot more. I just didn't see them as, I didn't identify with them, and I am the biggest nerd on the block. And, of course, I'm a girl, and being a nerd when you're a guy, there's a lot more guys who are nerds in that sense, and, so it's kind of a thing that I can't really relate to completely. But when I watch Big Bang Theory, I'm like, man, I know these people. I went to high school with them. They couldn't just get in bed with somebody because they were addicted to sex. They struggled with, doing the sort of quote unquote normal things, that other guys just did easily. And I don't know. It was just the mix of characteristics was to me inconsistent, and they were just kind of immature in a way that wasn't, I don't know, they just didn't find them, I couldn't stick with them. I didn't find them lovable. The actors are good actors. The story premise was, could have been playful and quirky. It had that about it, but it just had things that I didn't like and characters I didn't like enough to stick with. So, back to net, NV5F.
All right, well, that's fair enough. I was reading here, maybe this might help it or hurt it, I don't know. I was looking under the wiki part, and it says popular culture references and the usual stuff, Star Wars, Logan's Run, original series, and in the final sentence it says, Pre-Enterprise explores the dating scene for late Generation X Hollywood singles from a decidedly sardonic perspective. The credits are laced with references and spoilers. But maybe that has something to do with it, the Hollywood singles scene. I don't know. When I was single and I was out doing stuff, I remember the scenes and what was going on, and I don't know. It wasn't Hollywood or anything like that, but it was too different from what they were talking about. I don't know if that makes them bad, per se, in quotes, but I don't know. You know, at 67 years old, it's a lot different than watching this film or people acting this stuff out in their 30s or even in their late 20s. It's a whole different world, whole different experience. And things have changed, too. I mean, we've got the internet, that everything is there. Back then, and even when this film was made, your internet was your friends. You know, the feedback you got was from those individuals. It wasn't the world thing, or from a convention somewhere, if it's science fiction or Star Trek convention or something like that. And I went to a few of them. I wasn't obsessive over it. I go to one, once a year or something like that. If it was in town, I occasionally went out of town to a couple of them. So maybe I was a little more than the average type fan in that regard, but I didn't go out of my way to do it. If I could find a way to do it and get somebody to pay for it, I'd do it that way. My company did that a couple of times to Columbus, Ohio. I'll tell that story someday. But in any case, I didn't see it as objectionable. Could it have been done a little better? Yeah. Well, Big Bang proved that. It is possible to do it better. Was it bad? No. Did it end up, were the characters likable in the end? Yeah, they were. They learned their lessons along the way. And they realized that growing up isn't so bad, and we all kind of end up learning that lesson, I hope, along the way. Not everybody does. I know a few people, and even in family like that never really grew up and continue to live in that weird world of childhood to a certain degree, or adolescence, maybe, let's call it that. So that's the unfortunate part. We didn't have that happen, because that would have been unacceptable for an ending for this film, because it would have been kind of, just a poor ending for everybody. So there you have it. That's kind of my feeling and response to all of that. Let's see. Oh, we've got Bill, W5BLT. Bill, your comments on characterization. You're up. I'm sorry, I kind of took my place out of turn. I forgot I put you down here on the sheet. You're a little further down the sheet, and I missed you. So you're up. What do you think about characterization from KE5I6?
Okay. Thanks, Tom. Let me just say that the YouTube thing I sent out on the Afterglow message group was where no man has gone before, making free enterprise. So it was kind of neat watching that documentary, and then I kind of I liked the guys after that, and of course, obviously, liking William Shatner. And one of the women commented in the documentary that I watched that they didn't really know a lot about Star Trek, and I think that maybe helped it. I think that was kind of a good thing, because the way they were showing the relationships, their girlfriends and stuff were obviously not into that kind of stuff like they were. And then I was also watching more about fan comments, and there were actually some people that commented on YouTube as well that this film actually helped them. One guy in particular reviewed the film, and it was more about how the film helped him as he approached 30, and he was getting DVDs and movies and realizing that he wasn't like people around him, and this film kind of helped him to deal with that. So I thought that was interesting, looking at it from a cultural or historical standpoint. Yeah, and the characters did change, and so it did have a good kind of character arc. So so you could see the development of them. And that's kind of why I was jumping around. So like, if I didn't like a particular scene, I just kind of, I found it on YouTube so I could skip forward easier. But I think the documentary, it was kind of neat. I've always wondered too, maybe I should have saved this for the third round, but I'm always curious how people can get lots of money to make a film and then it bombs. And I'm fascinated by how these guys can raise money again for another movie. We've seen that with several movies where they raise the money to produce it and then it just doesn't earn money. Now this one may have earned more money on the DVD releases, perhaps, in streaming revenues than what it earned in the movie theater. I know we were talking about characters, but that just came to mind. I did like the scene where, they're thinking William Shatner is just this, Captain Kirk and really knows how to smooth talk women and doesn't. And so they were sat there, and I do give William Shatner credit for doing this as far as, he really did kind of poke fun of himself. I like how he was telling them to call him Bill, and then they said something he didn't like. He said, "You can call me Mr. Shatner now." So that was kind of funny. So there were some good lines in it. Anyway, W5BLT, back to you, Tom.
All right, thank you, Bill. Yeah, that was one of the nice contrasting thing with Shatner and all of this is he has his own problems. He's trying to do something with his life. He's trying to date, apparently. I know he's been married several times. I guess they just made the fictional Bill never married or not currently married and trying to date or whatever, and has his own problems that he can relate to the boys along the way. But when they say something stupid, he reverts back and turn into the old fogey again and say, just call me Mr. Shatner because of the stupid things that they were saying. Or when they were criticizing him to a certain extent. Anyway, okay. Well, kind of slim pickings tonight. We'll go back up to the top. I think Tony is gone. He said goodnight. Jake may be out there. He may have retired for the evening, but let me see if I can poke him a couple of times. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about this time. This round can be music, special effects, something you found entertaining about the film, or just something you haven't talked about, or just an opportunity to say goodnight. And any of the above is acceptable on this round. So let me see if we can get Jake. W5TXX, are you out there? Okay, I think he's on to evening then. KB9S. Okay, Sean, you're up.
Yeah, this is KB9S. Okay. I don't really have a lot to add. Like I said, this film for me kind of was split down the middle. Half the film I did actually like, and half of it I didn't. Yes, there was an ending, so it was nice. But in some ways, really, only one of them ever had any real growth. The guy that actually did have a job, the one that, I can't remember the character's name, but Eric, the one Eric played, it felt like he finally had growth. But even our main protagonist, really at the end, he kind of seen what he was doing wasn't maybe 100% correct, but Really, the girl came around his way more than he came around her way. So I'm not so sure he had all that much growth, to be quite honest. And then the guy that liked to drink, I'm not really sure he did either. Yeah, it kind of felt like there was growth, but then I'm not so sure thinking back at it. Was there? But anyway, like I said, there was part, I enjoyed trying to figure the references out. I'm sure I missed probably more than half. But to me, that was the fun of this movie, not as much as the plot per se. But anyway, as always, it's always fun to talk about it. Looking forward to the next one, like always. Back to net. This is KB9SLK.
Hi, thank you, Sean. Thank you for your comments this evening. Next up is Virginia NB5F. Your final word, your last word, would you like us to get that? Blindfold? Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Well, I might have to get on YouTube and see if I can find the musical number from the end that has been mentioned. I might like to see that. Yeah, I think all I can say is that I wanted to like it, and I just didn't find it as broadly appealing as it could have been. And that's just my sensibility. I may seem inconsistent at times, but I think I'm pretty consistent on when I get uncomfortable with something or I can't like the characters enough. I'll just ditch, and it's just my choice. Sometimes I'll go back and give something another chance, but I just really thought this could have been done a little more tastefully, and it could have been a lot more generally appealing and a lot more fun to watch. I think the idea of it was cute, and the fact that William Shatner signed on to do it I thought was cool. And I love Star Trek, and I love science fiction, and I love to try to pick out all the references, and I found that part fun and enjoyable, and the other stuff I didn't really like was just too distracting for me. So anyway, but good premise. I think the premise was all right, and the overall sentiment, based on what you guys have said, was a good one. So anyway, thanks a lot, and I'll be interested to see what the next one is. Back to net in V5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. Thanks for your comments tonight. That's one of the things about this is that, we all have different ideas and perspectives about what and expectations from films, and that's what makes it fun talking about these things, because we all agreed completely with everything about a film. These discussions wouldn't be very interesting at all. That's the whole point of them, is to get different perspectives and views and ideas along the way. That's why we keep coming back for more. So, I remember the old, what was the show, with the two guys from Chicago that would do the movie things, and I always liked it when they disagreed. One would say why they liked the film, and the other one would say why they hated the film. And generally speaking, one over the other would generally hate more films than liked, and the other one liked more films than hated. But between the two of them, you got a kind of a pretty fair idea, and then you made your own decisions whether you're going to plunk down the money to go see that film or not. So it works. Next up is Bill and Brenda. Brenda just yelled at me and said I skipped, so she must be someplace where she can get in. So I'm going to do Bill, and then after that, I'm going to go ahead and bring Brenda in. So W5BLT. Bill, your final comments. Anything you want. The board is open from KE5 to ICX.
Yeah, my dad always said if Siskel and Ebert disagreed on something, if they both hated the movie, then he'd generally go watch it because then he figured it was pretty good. But no, that was kind of the running joke in our family. I don't know that was necessarily true. Yeah, if you guys get a chance, watch that documentary. I thought it was pretty fun. Like I said, I'm always fascinated sometimes more about how the movie got created, sometimes more than the movie itself. I just find it interesting how all this gets pitched with the sales pitch and stuff. Yeah, you know, this speaks to how hard it is to get a big hit because obviously people are going to have different tastes and different feelings and different views on what they would want to watch and what makes me uncomfortable in a movie may not make someone else uncomfortable. But to make a hit, you have to really get a good cross section of an audience. So I always find that interesting as well. Thanks as always, everybody, for doing this, Matt. W5BLT.
Okie doke. Thank you, Bill. Thanks for being there this week, and we gave you something that wasn't so difficult to watch. Okay, next up is Brenda, WV5OZL. Brenda, you've got two segments you can do, the characterization, if you like, and anything else you want to add or subtract, and final comments. You got it. Go right ahead from KE5, ICX.
Thank you. This is WB5OZL. I did not yell at you. I sent you a gentle reminder, but things are kind of squirrely, so I hold it against you. I love it when a character is really was here. Everybody else was fairly well cast, and you know these are not real heavy dramatic parts. It's not Shakespeare. Most of them did a pretty good job. And it's interesting, this coming of age. It's like everybody struggles to grow up. You know, whether you're Travis Hill Yeller and you get to go from being a boy to a man really fast, to being 30 years old and still stuck in adolescence and realizing, you know, you're going to have to, you know, have a job and a house and a family and be an adult. And, boy, don't we know lots of people like that who are 30 and they still act like they're 15. And it's kind of sad in some cases. They don't seem to know what to do or be aware. That's, you know, a lot of self-awareness is just not there. They're enjoying what they do, and you know, if the women won't go along with it, to heck with them. So those people are kind of unlikable, especially in movies, because you just want to shake them by the shoulders and tell them to grow up. But in this case, it was, you know, like so many movies that have good resolutions, people start finding their niche, or they come to realizations that they need to change their ways, or, you know, and that's kind of satisfying that people find their way finally and achieve a higher level of happiness or success or whatever. Anything else? Yeah, the music was done by, I don't remember. It was pretty good. It was okay. And there weren't any special effects to speak of, but, yeah, I can't believe I never saw this before. I just don't understand what I was doing in 1999, or maybe it actually came out in 2000 when I had a crushed ankle. That might have been the reason. All right, I'm going to quit here. I'm at my destination. It's been lovely, and I'm done here. I won't talk again, but I will be listening. This is WB50ZL.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Brenda. Thanks for being here this evening, and glad you made it safely to your destination this evening. Okay, not anything else to add per se. I did enjoy the sequences that they did. The Sandman thing was kind of cute, I thought. For those of you who didn't know, Logan's Run was actually filmed in Dallas, Fort Worth, so if you ever get a chance to see that film, you get to see your hometown. So there's that. They did do a sequence, I think it was done in UCLA or something. It's supposed to be the dystopia society in that movie, but it's pretty good. I like that sequence. It was pretty funny. I guess that's it. I pretty much said my piece on the last round as far as the film's concerned. Now, next week's film, I didn't do any research. I had a list of films here, and I was quickly going through one of them here. It's called Deep Space from 1992. I noticed it has Chuck Napier in it, so Chuck always did a terrible job picking movies, or his agent did, and he was notorious for being in bad movies. So I have a feeling that Deep Space, just because he's in this film, is probably terrible, but I'm sure he'll be wonderful in a terrible film. That'd be Chuck Napier, who you remember as Heading Out to Eden, Yay Brother, which was referenced in last night's movie, so the one we were talking about. So keep that in mind as well. He sang that song. And it was referenced. So next week's movie will be Deep Space from 1992. It's over on YouTube. I will send the links out for anybody. I know I heard, I think it was Jake out there saying that it hadn't been updated on the Facebook page. I can't update anything on Facebook anymore. I no longer own that page. It's just sitting out there doing nothing. Maybe I'll create a new one and we'll go there. That's maybe the answer. But I was so mad at Facebook for what they did, and I'm still mad at them that I don't want to re-engage. It's like having a bad date. But at any rate, next week's movie, Deep Space from 1992. There is another one called Deep Space, which is with Space 1999. It's not the same film, but I will send the information out. So until next time, I'm watching the final scene from Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. It's over here on MeTV for their horror month. They're doing a double feature, and it's the final scene. If you ever see or want to see a spooky movie, that's it. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. You'll love it. Nice family film. See you all next week. This is KE5 ICX Clear.